Welcome back to Crackerjack Movie Chat. I am, as always, your host, Peter J. McCluskey, joined by a slightly ill Robert Toome.
Again, it's not going to get fun apart here, but I'm here for your viewing pleasure.
And hey, I feel like we picked the perfect or imperfect choice for sick day movies. Video game movies, they'll make us feel totally better, right?
Oh, hard to find good ones, if I'm honest with you. It was hard.
Yeah, I feel like going just into the future for my own choice for best, I feel like that may be the only one I could legitimately put as best. Like everything would either be worst or wildcard, everything else for me. And I haven't seen your best, so yeah, I feel like that just backs it up. They are few and far between. So
Yep.
guess we'll just get into this. My first pick, my best pick, best video game movie, it's a childhood favourite of mine. It is Pokemon, the first movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back. So, yeah, obviously, we were the generation that grew up on Pokemon, and this just came at the perfect time, just right there, slap bang in the middle of season one of the anime series. Basically, feel like we have to talk about the series in general at this point, where you follow Ash Ketchum, who's this 10-year-old kid who's going out into the world to become a Pokemon master. Yeah, don't know, just broad for all the very few people out there who've never experienced Pokemon at all. And that's basically the plot of the entire, I don't know, it must be about 20 odd seasons of anime at this point. And Ash is still 10 years old. He's still out there collecting Pokemon. The Pokemon roster keeps extending from the original 150. And so this movie is released right there towards the end of this first season. And the whole plot is, of course, as I've said, you have the original 150 Pokemon, but there's also Mew, which is a rare Pokemon that basically no one alive has seen. There's just like fossils of this totally mystical psychic Pokemon Mew. And so scientists in a lab have decided to clone what little Mew DNA they have and create Mewtwo. And of course, this goes brilliantly for them. Mewtwo starts to question, why am I here? Why am I serving humanity if I'm so much more powerful than they are? He breaks free and decides to create his own army of Pokemon clones and is going to wipe out the human race and any Pokemon who are on the human race's side with this massive flood. But before he does this, he is going to invite all the greatest Pokemon trainers in the land to his island for a Pokemon tournament. And of course, Ash and his friends Misty and Brock all show up with their Pokemon. And yeah, chaos ensues. So yeah, I don't know, the Pokemon animes sometimes put down a lot as, I don't know, just a nostalgic piece that isn't exactly a great anime. But for me, it's just, maybe I am just playing into the nostalgia card here, but it is something that just is a huge part of my childhood. And this first movie is just, I don't know, it's special to me. I feel like the year 1999, you had the Phantom Menace, which, I don't know, Robert and I have talked about the prequels at a certain point, but that was a huge film for me in childhood. You had this movie, Pokemon, the first movie, and yeah, that was just really the year that I was just becoming someone who went to the cinema and someone who was paying attention to new films coming out. So yeah, this is a strong one. This is like kind of ground zero for me in Pokemon, just with, I always think of this one really because of Mewtwo, who's just a great villain, like who, I don't know about you, Robert, I always sympathized with the character even from childhood, even though he was the villain, like was always on his side. And of course the plots basically plays out that way, where you don't really end with Mewtwo as the villain, you end with him sort of having to question, I mean, I've just played this whole game just for my own selfish desires, but I need to go away now and think about what my place in the world is and what humanity means to me, basically. And yeah, I mean, the movie isn't without its flaws. I always say about this movie, it's almost the reverse of the 2015 Fantastic Four movie in structure, not in content or quality because that movie's terrible. But the problem, one of the big issues with that movie was it was obvious so much had been cut out that it felt like the way it progressed was it went beginning, mid, end. Like there was just no middle to the movie. This is almost the same problem where like you have sort of the prologue with Mewtwo, and then you have a little bit with Ash and his friends. But then as soon as they get to the island, you're basically in the climax where it's all just one huge Pokemon war from that point forward. And of course, that's what we want in this movie. Let's face it, that's what the games were. You were just out there in the wild collecting Pokemon, and yeah, it's just all about seeing these different varieties of Pokemon, and yeah, that's what this movie is. It's just fun seeing Mewtwo's clone Pokemon taking on the regular Pokemon, and just some good character work with Mewtwo in general. Like, yeah, this is one, as we say, like, it was kind of hard picking video game movies because they all tend to have flaws, but this is one that I feel like can stand as a film, basically. Yeah, I like it. So, Robert, what's your thoughts on the first Pokemon movie?
Yeah, of all the Pokemon movies, it's the only one I remember. That wasn't the one with like the 4 elementals, wasn't it? But that was the next one, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
that was the second one, yeah.
Oh, there you go then. So I remember something for the second gen. That's it. Yeah, no, I remember this one. The third one, I think, was the weird one with the big dog and the wee lassie.
Yeah, the third one, it was all about, yeah, she'd lost her parents or something, and then the dog was hanging out with her, and it was all turning into a weird realm or something. Yeah, I know it kind of went off the rails after at that point, but the first two are good.
Yeah, and the first one is brilliant. First one makes you cry if you remember the bit with Pikachu. Nobody needs that when you're younger to see your favourite character nearly snuff it. Spoiler alert, although I say that, come on, if you haven't seen this film, then get away from it. I always wonder but if the film was the same in Japan, because, have you ever seen the comparisons between the TV series to like Western and Japan? Certain, things are maybe raised and covered and certain aspects are different. So I wonder how different, if that at all was different. I loved it. It is a film I would quite like to watch again, but yeah, I can't find it.
Hey, I could put. I'm not going to. I can pull it out, but I'm not going to. But I'm pretty. Yeah, it is on Blu-ray. So like, that's only in the last couple of years. So pretty sure it was pretty hard to find on DVD. Like, feel like it was one of those films you'd go into like a second-hand shop and you'd see the DVD there for like 30 quid or something like that. So you'd just be like, oh, I can't buy that. I can't justify that. But yeah, it's out on Blu-ray now, so it's good that it's back in circulation, basically. And yeah, I feel like there's good Pokemon moments in this, like as you say, the heart wrenching moment between Pikachu and Ash, which yeah, obviously we won't go into it for the 2% of interested people who haven't watched it, but yeah, it's a heart wrenching moment, and I actually liked what they gave Charizard to do in this film, like. Like Charizard is obviously the rowdy one amongst Ash's Pokemon. He was always just playing his own game and not doing what Ash told him. But you actually get that moment in this where Charizard does go against Mewtwo's Charizard and like ends up being like tired out and just beaten down. But you get it's a tiny bit of evolution for Charizard, and like you see Ash caring about him when he's like beaten down. So yeah, it's good. It has a lot of good. I know the like message. A lot of people like question the message of Pokemon aren't meant to fight. It's not like this. Yeah, I'm just thinking about animal cruelty. People who've come in on Pokemon at certain points, but I don't. It's a video game. It's an anime, and it's supposed to be taken as fun. But yeah, I feel like they do try and at least have a message about when Mewtwo's Pokemon are just being so violent with the real Pokemon that there's a difference between just regular episodes of the anime. So, yep, it's in an entire subgenre, subdivision of the motion picture industry, video game movies. Here's one that's actually good. So, yeah, I can forever hold that one up as something I'll remember. So yeah, Pokemon the first movie. Go and watch it if you haven't. So, Robert, what's your favourite video game-based movie?
Well, I'm going to go for a film that took a bit of backlash when it was first announced. Mainly because a lot of people were like, oh, how would this be done? And then they released concept art and the character looked horrible. But the studio went away, delayed it for about, I think, 6 months to a year, and brought a new character to listen to the fans, and it was great. I'm picking Sonic the Hedgehog. I was pleasantly shocked at the movie. I really enjoyed playing Sonic when I was younger. I was still questioning how they make a film in it, but especially in like the era of us, like in our time, in our land kind of thing, because that's where it was set. I think it was set in a small town, and then I think it moves into San Francisco, I think. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, it was surprisingly quite charming. It was just a nice film. The human characters are quite likeable as well. You care for them. You want him and Sonic to be best pals. You can see that friendship growing, and the villain, Jim Carrey get cast as Dr. Robotnik was massive in the sense that was another bit of criticism, because Robotnik, if I always remembered, was a fat balding guy with a massive tash, and obviously that's not Jim Carrey, but obviously spoiler alerts. At the end, behind credits, he does, but that's a different story. But Jim Carrey, I think Jim Carrey steals this. As much as Sonic is very pleasant and he's very funny, I feel like they do have those classic speed scenes where, like the X-Men, and I think Marvel, have Marvel done it? I don't think Marvel, I think it was more X-Men that done it with Quicksilver. You could arguably say DC have done it with Flash, the very slow motion, quite funny scenes where you just picking things out the way. We've done a few of these scenes. You would expect that. The CGI I felt held up very well. And overall, it was just a very fun film. Jim Carrey looked as if he cared again, which was great to see. He's had a very rough time for whatever, for all the different reasons, whether people blame him or not. But yeah, we're not going to talk about Jim Carrey's personal life. That's not what we're here for. Yeah, I mean, interesting. The plot basically goes along the lines that it starts off in, I think, which is Sonic's land, and there's always things hunting him. And if he runs so fast, he gets detected. And it's these like Knuckle-looking characters, I think, that are trying to chase him at the start. I might be wrong again. They look like Knuckles. Again, it's been a while since I've really played Sonic, so I only know what Tails and Sonic look like. I think Knuckles is the red guy, so I could be wrong. I don't think they were red. But anyway, he eventually, the rings are like his escape. So he throws a ring up and it opens like a portal. It's like, Doctor Strange's portals. That's what they're like. And yeah, and basically on Earth, that's how he's caught, because he's lonely and he plays a baseball game and he sets off an electric pulse and it just turns everything off. That's really how they're after him. So I don't really know if they've explained why they're after him. I can't really remember that. And I mean, if they do and I can't remember it, then I don't really know if the plot really is strong in that sense. But yeah, I mean, what goes through it is pretty charming and it's very interesting, and I think they've done a good attempt, because Sonic Hedgehog games have basically always been set in their world. I think bar a few, obviously, the more modern ones. Well, modern. So I think they've done the best they could for a Sonic game. It's very, again, Jim Carrey is just fabulous. You can see the scenes that he improvs. Again, back to enjoying his acting again. He signed up for a second one. I know they're actually, I think they're in production of making Sonic the Hedgehog 2 with Tails, and I actually do think Knuckles is in this, so I doubt it was Knuckles chasing him, now that I think about it. But anyway, we'll find out and I'll let you know who chased them again. But the I found this very pleasant, very funny, good CGI. Yeah, comfortable, nice film to watch. Peter, have you got anything to add to it?
Yeah, a lot of what I've got to add are actually outside of the movie itself, because, like, weirdly, I haven't seen the movie. Like, just, it's always been a kind of, yeah, I might end up there kind of movie. Yeah, I've had a weird history with Sonic because I really wasn't that big of a Sonic kid. Like, I don't know, people are going to be surprised by this, but like, the one Sonic game I really was huge into as a kid was Shadow the Hedgehog, which I know is, I don't know, a lot of people don't quite like that game, but I loved that game when I was a kid. Maybe it's just because it's the gritty, darker, morally ambiguous Sonic who wields a machine gun, you know, and but yeah, that might be a fun game. I need to go back and check it out again. It's around here somewhere in the closet somewhere, but yeah, my big memory about this movie coming out was the poster, really, because I don't know. I know this is completely wrong. I know James Marsden doesn't voice Sonic, but just the fact that they had Robotnik and Sonic on the poster and Jim Carrey, James Marsden above the title, it's just like, oh wow, James Marsden's career has fallen so far that he's voicing Sonic now. And yeah, I know I brought this up on a previous show, and I think Ryan brought up Sonic at a certain point, but yeah, it was just it was a moment. But I know it's wrong. I know James Marsden plays a human in it, but yeah, I mean, I didn't think something like Detective Pikachu was that bad, so. But I've heard like a lot of people like this better than Detective Pikachu, so yeah, if it's on like a streaming service or something, I'll probably watch it at some point, basically. So I guess we'll move on to worst video game movies. Now, I have to say for my pick, I'm well aware I could have picked any one of the 9 or 10 Uwe Boll films based on video games, but I feel like Robert's got that covered. So I'm going to like pick a film that, I don't know, it comes from a series that went off the rails pretty early, but then got back onto good footing. And then this movie just pissed it all away again. It's a movie that should have at least reached some quality, but didn't. I am going with Resident Evil Retribution, which is the 5th Resident Evil film. So I feel like I need to like just start about an issue I have with the Resident Evil films in general, and I like in general kind of like the Resident Evil films, like which we'll get to in a minute. I think the first one is a pretty solid little action horror film, and the second one is, it's not good, but it's like watchably bad. Third one's pretty boring. Fourth one I will talk about in a minute, which I like the fourth one, but the fifth one just, it made all the wrong decisions for me. And it's like, as I say, like I've just said, it's a case where, yeah, you're not making great films, but you have the skill, Paul W.S. Anderson, to achieve a watchable, cheesy movie. And you just, I don't get your decision making in this film. Like, one issue I have with Resident Evil films in general is it's kind of like, I don't know, you get TV series sometimes where they have amazing cliffhangers that just keep you coming back again and again, but then they totally piss away the cliffhanger in the next episode. That's kind of how I feel about the Resident Evil films. And to take Retribution as an example, you know, you have this ending where like Alice and the Redfields are on this battleship, and the helicopters are coming in, bombing them, and then you just pick up in like a totally, like you see the bombing again at the start of Retribution, but you pick up in like a totally different situation where it's like all of a sudden Alice is waking up to Wesker telling her, "Hi, I'm your enemy, but will you do this thing for me?" And it's like, what? Why are we here? You've like totally, you're trying to subvert good versus evil, Alice versus the Umbrella Corporation, and make it interesting, but you're not like doing it in an interesting way. You're just like, I don't know, I don't want Wesker to be the villain anymore, so I'll just have him not be the villain, but I won't have a reason for it at all. And basically, they're trying to recreate the atmosphere of the first film with this, I feel, where it's Alice in an underground bunker trying to escape. But I can't emphasize how off this film feels right from the start. Like, they established there are all these clones in this underground bunker, clones of characters from throughout the series. And this was like a big thing with this installment, that a lot of actors whose characters have been killed in previous installments were coming back. And that was really intriguing because for me, I only saw the last Resident Evil film in the cinema. Like, the other ones I saw in like a marathon leading up to it. And even for me in that marathon, I was really intrigued. Oh, how are these characters returning? But just to know that they're just these clones who are basically just slabs of meat to be killed throughout the film it's useless. It's not what you wanted. Like, they've built up this, I don't know, kind of like, this movie came out the same year as Avengers, just to set it up. They built up an Avengers type situation where you're bringing in all these characters, and like, let's say this, Resident Evil films are not Marvel films. It's not the same thing, but you at least have that expectation in people's minds that you are going to build up to this possible finale at this point, which it wasn't. They made a sixth one, but yeah, it just feels like a series of action scenes and decisions that have no impact, basically. And yeah, it was just so disappointing, basically, to see all these actors come back just to be killed off again. And yeah, a villain who's just there to be a voice in Alice's ear. Yeah, this is, I don't know what to say. It's just a weird paradox for me, Retribution, because again, Resident Evil films are just meant to exist as a turn your brain off 90 minutes fun action film, and this film didn't even achieve that. And that's kind of like why I'm choosing this over Uwe Boll again, is because Uwe Boll movies, you know what you're getting with those movies. Terrible movies, but this had all the elements, didn't achieve anything. So, yeah. And if I could like just go to the end of this film again, kind of damning of the next film as well, which sixth final chapter wasn't that bad. Had some good, had some bad in it. Not as bad as Retribution, but did the same thing again, where you establish at the end of Retribution, Alice and all of her cohorts are at the White House, and they're the last humans on Earth, and the White House is completely surrounded by zombies, which, zombies. I haven't mentioned zombies yet. Like, in a zombie franchise, I haven't mentioned zombies, and this should tell you what went wrong with Retribution, because it's just Alice in this bunker with all these silly set pieces from previous movies, but they forgot about the zombies. And yeah, the ending was promising. Like, just to know, oh, here we are, we're these characters. We don't have all those other dead characters we promised we were bringing back because they're dead again. So, but we do have some new characters, and we're all here. We're all at the White House, and we're gonna fight off the zombies around us. Of course, the final chapter, the next film, starts with Alice rising from the rubble of the White House after the huge battle, and everyone else is dead. So this is exactly what I'm saying about the bad Resident Evil films, is they just piss away the brilliant cliffhangers. And that's kind of why I want to damn Retribution here, is because the one thing it got right, the next movie didn't deliver on. So that retroactively means that Retribution got nothing right. And again, I say I enjoy some of the Resident Evil films. I will talk about another one in a minute. Robert, have you seen this one?
This is the weird one for me. I've seen the first and second one hundreds of times. I've seen the third one quite a lot. I've seen the fourth one a few times. Then this is the fifth. See, I lose my timelines with them all. This is the one I've only ever seen once, and I've only seen bits yet, but I get really confused. Like it introduced Leon, didn't it? Out of nowhere.
Yeah, because he shows up with Boris Kojo, what's his name? Luther. Because Luther was in the fourth one. Then Luther maybe went off to die at the end of the fourth one, but then wasn't dead. And then he's just there at the start of this one with Leon.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, as you say.
That was the point I definitely felt like, oh, they've really ran out of ideas. They have really, really, really ran out because they're just bringing every character into it now. Every character. They're pulling it at their backside. And it was more mind control, and I just get really confused. Like, who was the wee Lassie? Who was who? Who was the real Alice? Like, that made me mentally ill because I just couldn't click what was going on. And was there not a really weird scene where there were Russian zombies? Or did I imagine that? Did I watch Dodge?
Yeah, that definitely happened because they were going from like place to place within this complex, and it was all like different countries underground, and weird stuff started happening. And yeah, of course, as you're alluding to, the little girl who is a clone, the daughter of the Alice clone, but Alice just decides, oh, I'll adopt this child now that I'm running through this maze underground. Guess we need some character moments. But yeah, this film is yeah.
I mean, my two friends they're very into Resident Evil. They love the Resident Evil games, and they recently bought Village and stuff, and they constantly, I don't want to say shit on these films because they like some of them, but they would have liked maybe just a film where it was based on, like, properly based on one of the games, you know, where it followed maybe Jill Valentine and maybe Alice doesn't exist. But I don't know, in a weird way, I kind of respect Resident Evil for coming up with something different. I do have to give them that, even though it went a bit bat crazy, a bit mad. It did go a bit Resident Evil, because even then, to be fair, some of the Resident Evil games did go a bit madness. I remember Chris Redfield punching boulders and stuff like that. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know what happened there. I think Paul W.S. Anderson just had whatever time he wanted. Then again, he's married to Mila Jovovich, isn't he? So he can do what they want.
Yeah, let's face it. This is kind of like a working holiday for these folk. Like they're just like, hey, we'll use our summer. We'll go to wherever it is, probably Canada, and just make a Resident Evil film. It'll be good fun. Yay!
Then they done Monster Hunter together.
Yeah, they did. Haven't seen that, but
I've never played Monster Hunter, so I couldn't care less.
And yeah, you mentioned like all the just throwing in random characters from the Resident Evil franchise. This film can't even keep a through line from the previous film is the thing, because you have the Redfields there with Alice at the end of the previous film. You get to the start of this film, they're nowhere to be seen, and it's like, I liked those characters, kind of. Why aren't they here?
Yeah, I just felt like they get really bored and just kept choosing.
Yeah. So, yeah, we'll talk about a good Resident Evil movie in a minute, but this one, I feel like it's all summed up in Mila Jovovich slapping Oded Fehr on the arse. Mila Jovovich's clone slapping Oded Fehr's clone on the arse, and it's very half-assed, which kind of sums up the whole thing. You can just tell, I don't know, there wasn't any inspiration left at this point. So, yeah, let's move on, shall we? Robert, what's your worst video game movie?
A director I almost now hate as much as I hate my good Australian or New Zealand friend. Bo has struck me again. This man causes me more illness than the illnesses that I suffer right now. Peter, you brought up recent episodes after I slaughtered In the Name of the King, which allegedly that's also based in a game that I did not know about. I was going to slaughter it again, but I thought, no, I'll slaughter another film to bring more pain. If he wants to fight me, I will fight him ill and sickly. I will defeat this man for... I feel like if I just turn up with the confidence that I believe that I'm a heavyweight boxer, like he believes he's a top-class director, then surely I'll do something. I just don't get why this guy. Right, I'm not here to pan him. I'm not here to get personal. I just don't get him. So I'm here to talk about Alone in the Dark, which is based on the game Alone in the Dark. It's basically Edward Campbell is a detective of the paranormal and unexplained and supernatural. He basically investigates the death of a friend that takes him to like Shadow Island and stuff like that. It's just really typical gamey kind of stuff. So and he finds out there's a cult called the Abs Canny that kind of want to worship demons that apparently tried to come on the earth millennia ago, and they're going to bring them back. I think the original Alan Wake games were based on the novels. Who's the fella, Peter, that wrote? The big technical monster, Cthulhu.
Lovecraft, H.P. Lovecraft. Yeah.
So they're based on that, and you know what? When you play in the games and you get the feel, that you do get this feel of they've copied this, but this is like a slap in the face to anything to do with Cthulhu and all that. It's just I feel sick talking about this for a minute. So basically, I think it's Tara Reid, I can't remember. Her that was in Sharknado, that complete idiot that's ruined her career. So basically, she's his ex-girlfriend, and they need to find a way to stop this big camp from raising this evil demons, while also they're trying to take over Canby's mind. Oh, by the way, Canby's played by Christian Slater, so I don't know if you can remember a time where Christian Slater was big or interesting, because I sure can. No offence, Christian Slater, I just can't, mate. I'm sorry. They really drag out the introduction, which sometimes I don't mind long introductions. I don't. You know, we've spoken about the Justice League was quite long, but we felt like it was needed. It showed you different things. Never explained what was really happening. It just showed you different people's lives. This long introduction seems to explain the storyline to you, as if the executives have went, oh no, this is a far too complicated plot. Let's really just explain it to the audience. So you end up feeling like you've watched it all in the first introduction.
Yeah, doesn't this film have like a ridiculously long scroll at the start of it? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah, and it's just over narrated as well. So every 3 minutes there's a narration. Just really nothing to do with the games. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like the games. But then again, I don't think really any of you Bulls films feel like the games. I mean, I've seen trailers for these other ones. Far Cry maybe was the closest. I'm not going to watch Far Cry. But Far Cry looked like the closest to the game, even though it was dreadful, like with a really rubbish budget, and well, what do you expect? It's Hugo. But yeah, that's the other one. He's filled it with a lot of action, which is fine if it was like a game that was intended for action, but the game was intended to be a horror survival, a survival mystery. You know, so I don't quite understand, like, why do you do that? Like, you've really changed it. Like, you have really changed it. You know, it's like, you know, some people say that about Resident Evil, the games, for example. They were very survival horror, but the minute you get, sometimes you can get big guns in some of the recent ones, and it's just a bit too easy. It doesn't become a survival horror. Maybe not the more modern ones, like Village and stuff, they're very survival horror. But that's what it's like. This just seems to really take it away. Do we need to really talk about the acting? I mean, I've told you the actors. I mean, they're not great, are they?
And let's face it, Uwe Boll is one of these people. I mean, I know that like the cliche with M. Night Shyamalan is he takes big actors, like big over the top actors, Mel Gibson, etc., and turns them into these somber, concentrated performances. But yeah, I feel like there's a similar but worse thing with Uwe Boll in that he takes actors who did some good work at some point and totally destroys them, and you never see them again.
There's one thing I really hate, and this is what I hate. Like, I can watch a film with pretty poor CGI and special effects, even when it's laughable. I weirdly I'll push through that if the film completely owns up to it. Like, see if the film goes, look, we've tried our best, we're showing you our CGI. Mate, think of what you will. I don't mind that, but this feels like it's all very poorly lit, right? And it's very poorly edited, which is almost like they're trying to cover up their poor CGI And in my mind, I'm going, look, just own your poor CGI and practical effects. Own it, and I'll have a bit more respect for it. Don't start covering it up poorly, because, I mean, I've had this issue with Alien versus Predator. Is it Requiem, the second one? You know, right, I don't particularly think the two of those films were great. The second one's got actually pretty good kills in it, you know, entertaining kills. But the problem is it's too goddamn dark. So you've got all these great kills in the second, but you can't see it. Stop making the films really dark that nobody can see. Idiots.
Yeah. Wasn't there an issue with that film where, like, I don't know, when they were editing the film, they realized, oh crap, everything looks so crap. We just need to darken everything so no one can see it. So that's what's amazing about AVP2. It's a choice. It's a choice. But yeah, okay.
This is my weird one, and I feel like you both this is quite a lot. It's an awfully made sex scene in it, and I feel like he squeezes them in quite a lot. Like, he done it in Far Cry, because I was reading about Far Cry, because I felt like, do I push myself to watch this film if I can find it? And then I kind of said no, because there was a really weird scene where the main hero, I can't remember the guy's name in Far Cry 1, says, we need to huddle up together in case we get hypothermia. And, you know, they have sex, and then he wakes up in the morning and goes, how was it? Like, it just wasn't needed. And yeah, this film's got this really weird, unneeded sex scene. Like, it looks like to me, if you remember Blade 3, that what's your man's name, Wesley Snipes, was pushing for a sex scene with Ryan Reynolds. With Jessica Biel. Basically, here's the way I look at this. Do not watch this. It's like 88 minutes and you'll never get your life back. Tara Reid is completely miscast, is the one thing I'll say for her, as a scientist kind of character. It ruined, I'd say that was the final nailing Slater's career. Fair enough, like most Ubal's careers. Is there anybody who's been in one of his films whose career hasn't completely crumbled? Jason Statham,
yeah.
On Perriman.
He can, I mean, maybe Uwe Boll's the reason we never got a Hellboy 3. Who knows?
I feel like Perriman just floats through doing like undated big films. It's weird. He seems to be that one actor that can just do what he wants. I don't know if you've seen this, Peter, but don't watch it if you haven't.
I mean, I've seen long stretches of a lot of Uwe Boll films, is the thing. Like, but I never intentionally sit down and watch them. Basically, I don't know. See, I feel like I don't intend specifically, but I feel like I will end up doing more of a bowl. I don't know, either for this show or just for, I don't know. I feel like someone will make me. I feel like, because I know he's out there, and yeah, he's
every time I say his name, I'm dying here.
Every time I say he's killing Robert. People, do you see what's happening? Let's face it, all of Uwe Boll's films, you talked about we don't remember the ending, all of Uwe Boll's films end in boxing matches, so, which are kind of entertaining. I mean, it's hubris. It's hubris at its worst, that this guy feels like he needs to box his critics. And I mean, you could look at that as comedic, like, I'm fighting my critics in a boxing match, but I truly do not believe this man sees it as comedic. I feel like he sees it as legitimate revenge. But yeah, I've seen some of Uwe Boll's films, pieces of them, so I can say it's an interesting piece of cinema. So we will move on to wildcards, end it somewhere other than Uwe Boll. So my wildcard is, as I've already alluded to, Resident Evil Afterlife, the fourth Resident Evil film. And this is kind of a forgotten one, I feel like. I feel like there's a feeling amongst a lot of people, oh, the first Resident Evil film's okay, the rest are crap, but I love this one. This one is just fun to me. Like, okay, if we can just go into the plot, and this is what I'm going to like hold up about this one over Retribution, is this one has a solid, discernible plot. So start with Alice. So we get the whole opening sequence, which is very interesting, and we'll get into it in a minute. But after that whole opening sequence, you got Alice. She's out in the world. She's supposedly defeated Umbrella. Yeah, at this point. So she's going to track down a bunch of other folk who were heading for Alaska, which is supposedly free of zombies, who she met in the previous film, these folk. But she finds the whole place deserted and meets up with Claire Redfield, who's lost her memory entirely since the previous film. So her and Claire are going to go off down to California and just look for any signs of life. And of course, they end up in this prison that's surrounded by zombies, which, yep, it's a riff on Dawn of the Dead, shopping mall surrounded by zombies. So it's a cool setting for a zombie movie. And of course, you get the setup that there is this battleship out there in the bay somewhere that says, this is Arcadia, this is the haven away from the zombie apocalypse, come to us. But of course, you have the prison surrounded by zombies, so how do these people get out and get there? But then you, of course, get the revelation of another character who's locked in a cell in the basement, who maybe is a SWAT team member who was locked in there by escaping prisoners, or maybe he's a psychopath who will kill them all if they let them out. But his character is, of course, revealed to be Chris Redfield, Claire's brother, who, this is like the one really weird thing about this film is Alice and Claire weren't going to California to find Chris. Like, there's no reason you should expect Claire's brother to be where they're being, but then all of a sudden you go most of the movie. Claire, of course, has amnesia, so wouldn't know to look for her brother, but then as soon as you get to the second half of the movie, they're letting Chris out of his cell. He recognizes her and says, hey, you're my sister. So it's cool to see characters from the game, of course, but that's kind of weird. But yeah, I like this one. It's got a cool setting. It's like one that, aside from that little tangent I just went on there, doesn't do much really stupid stuff. It's just a solid action horror movie, I feel like. And yeah, so as you say, you get the whole dynamic of, oh, can we trust Chris Redfield, or is he going to kill us? Does he know the way out of the prison? Like, not sure if I mentioned, he's claiming when he's in his cell he knows the secret passage out of the prison. So yeah, I feel like this is a cool one. Like, I feel like we need to start off by talking about the opening sequence, which I love the opening sequence of this film. It's where you get a recap, like a kind of microcosm recap of the zombie apocalypse, where you're in Japan in this really cool slow motion sequence where you just focus on this one girl in a massive crowd of people who, of course, over the course of the slow motion sequence is going to zombie out and just be the first case of T-virus in Japan. And then, of course, we cut to a few years later after the third movie, where Alice is now in Japan, which is a post-apocalyptic Japan at this point. Alice is laying siege to Umbrella Corporation, which, just to set this up, at the end of the previous film, Alice had a bunch of clones, so you get this massive army of Mila Jovovich's laying siege to Umbrella Corporation. It's a really cool battle sequence, and of course all the clones are killed and Umbrella is supposedly taken down, which, again, you can say that this plays into my criticism of Resident Evil, that they set up really cool cliffhangers but just do away with them right at the start. But with this one, I'm like, at least we got a cool action sequence out of that cliffhanger instead of them just starting and saying, oh yeah, all those Alice clones we set up at the previous film, they're all just gone now. We get them in a cool action sequence until they're all destroyed with Umbrella Corporation. But yeah, then I feel like this is just it's fun in the way that, I know I like kind of criticize this movie, it's fun in the way that Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead is fun. It's a cool bunch of characters, you know. Of course, they meet Luther, who's just a charismatic, likable character, former basketball player who's just trying to live as a badass post-zombie apocalypse. And you have the snooty Hollywood guy with his personal assistant there in the prison who's just going to cause loads of problems for them. And yeah, Chris Redfield is even though I mentioned you have the issues with that character, which, yeah, Wentworth Miller, who folk will know from Prison Break, and I know him from Dinotopia personally. He's just really good as Chris Redfield, I'd say. And yeah, I don't know, there's not much to say. Unlike Retribution, where I can just tear it apart with all the problems there are with that film, this film is just like plain and simple. It's a fun action movie. Like, yep, that's why it works for me. Like, I feel like I need to watch it again. It's been a while since I've watched it, but yeah, it's just a fun, like the kind of action I wouldn't normally go for. You know, a lot of slow motion, a lot of CGI, but well done for what it is. Well done, kind of Matrix ripoff, I suppose you'd say. And yeah, Mila Jovovich, let's face it, not the best actress in the world, but she pulls off the Alice role in this film. I feel like she just pulls off. You buy her as the badass, and the tiny little bit of character Alice has, Mila Jovovich pulls off. So yeah, this is a good one, I think. And Robert, you said you'd seen this a couple of times, this one.
Yeah, this is the one I've seen. I've really got no thoughts to this one. It's a weird one for me. I don't hate it, but I'm not entirely fond of it. It just sits where it is. I did like the action sequences in it were pretty cool. Certainly the one in Osh get the showing off shotgun that fires coins.
Yeah, this is the one. Yeah, and they also fight the massive dude with a hammer, the
Pyramid Head and
axe.
steroids.
Yeah, it is basically Pyramid Head from Silent Hill, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and steroids is massive. Yeah, and the zombies kind of like split their heads open and stuff like that. That Blade 3 vampires. It's pretty funky. No, it's one of those films. It's just good to put on and enjoy it. Really, I don't think, as you say, I don't think they make 100 stupid mistakes that you start going, oh come on. They just keep it the way it is and stick to a very simple plot, and it works. And really, that's what you should really be getting for Resident Evil. Simple plots. Well, I think anyway.
Yeah, I feel like it was the right choice for the series to go in this direction at this point because, as we say, first one is pretty good, and that's the one where they're trying to do the game really out of all of them. Like, it's basically the plot of the first game, except you have Alice instead of Jill Valentine and Chris Redfield. But yes, after that, 2 didn't really work. 3 was dull, so yeah, I feel like a fourth one being as dull as 3 just would have tanked the franchise where it was. But turning it into this over the top action thing and really embracing that at this point was the right decision, I think. So yeah, it's a fun one. Resident Evil Afterlife. It's not going to set the world on fire, but it's worth your time, I'd say. So, Robert, what is your wildcard video game adaptation?
I'm going with the Silent Hill film, the first one. Based on obviously the game Silent Hill. There is slight changes. I think in the game Silent Hill you play the fella whose name escapes me because it's been a while since I played Silent Hill because I feel like the games are old now. But yeah, it's basically Rose and her husband Christopher. I can't remember if his actual name is Christopher in the game. I'm not sure. They're disturbed by their adopted daughter Sharon, who keeps talking about this town called Silent Hill, which was a wee town in West Virginia that burnt down about 30 years ago in a mysterious fire. So Rose believes if she can take Sharon to this place, we might get some answers. But she's also then stopped by a police officer for being a bit erratic and a bit confused. She tries to escape the police officer, and as she's driving towards the town, she sees a little girl walking in front of her. They crash, and black. There you go. They wake up. Well, Rose wakes up in the mist and the fog of Silent Hill, but Sharon isn't there with her. The police officer, I think, does catch up with her. So they make their way into town, and they keep seeing images of the little girl that ran in front of the car. They keep pursuing this little girl to get questions, and then this is when they hit the town and they notice everybody's a bit weird. The town's a bit funky, and there's like an alarm playing, like a kind of nuclear alarm bunker. You meet a kind of crazy woman who gets pelted with stones. She's not allowed inside the church. She apparently buffed the unholy one, as they say. And this is where you meet like Pyramid Head, who is obviously Silent Hill's most, I'd say, recognisable villain. Between that are the nurses, which is always pretty weird. But yeah, you get a great good scene of that, of him completely tearing this woman apart, this other woman who doesn't manage to get in time. She gets ripped apart, skin ripped off and ripped in half. It's very visual. It's very have that. Yeah, I mean the film is quite. I find the film quite creepy, and that is what Silent Hill is about. It is quite a creepy film. It's all about. It's basically Rose is having to pursue this, find out what her daughter is while dealing with this really crazy religious cult. Who are talking about burning people and all that, and yeah, they have to go to this hospital, and that's where it gets really freaky because bits of the hospital start changing. It looks like it's on fire. Also, the hospital's alive. You see some of the nurses. All of this is going on now. Sean Bean, who's playing Christopher, he has to look around and try and find out where they went and find out things about Silent Hill, where he gets no answers from like nuns and stuff like that. They find local police to be a bit not helpful because they're trying to stop people going into Silent Hill because they know it's cursed. It's like all these weird rumours and stuff. But it's weird. There are scenes where Chris will be in Silent Hill and she's still burnt away and no fog. It's normal, and Rose could be standing there and it's all fogged. It's pretty funky dimensional stuff. So basically, yeah, you find out that I think let me get this right. That there was a young girl that was burnt by this religious cult. She didn't die and stuff like that, and it just happens to be that Rose's stepdaughter. She really gets a bit weird. She isn't like the reincarnation, but she is in a weird sense. It's like the good side of her or something like that. And this cult's trying to kill her, and yeah, she'll not. Obviously, Rose is not the real birth mother, but she loves her because she is a mother. She cares, obviously, because she would have know this, would she, if she didn't care. And it's basically simply put, right? You go through all these things fighting big monsters, and that is what just kind of slopes it. I don't really explain it very well, right? But it's a really weird film to explain. It's just very creepy. I think they did a good job. I really do. It's fair enough. Some of the acting's a bit hammy, but what do you really expect from a video game? I don't think I've seen many video games where the acting isn't pretty hammy. But it's a good, figuring clues out, trying to investigate, figuring what's going on. Some good kill scenes in it. I think the CGI holds up quite well for a film that I think came out in 2001 or 2. It holds up pretty well, I think. I think that's when it came out. I might be wrong. It might be a bit earlier or later. I don't know. Whatever. But it's a nice film. It's a very good film, I think, for the adaptation. It's got a very weird ending as well. Spoiler alert. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The ending basically is this all happens and she rescues her stepdaughter, and she goes back to her house. At the same time, Chris goes back to the house. However, Rose and Sharon are still covered with fog and they're lying on the couch, and Chris goes to sit down on the couch and the house is normal and he can't feel anything. Although I do think he sees a handprint in the mirror. It's pretty weird. It's pretty funky. No, I really liked it. I think it was a good adaptation. It was very much like the game in the sense that they kept it. It was very visually good. I think that's what some games always can accomplish. I think they always are usually visually good. I don't know, Peter, if you've seen anything.
Yeah, I saw it a couple of years ago. It's this one's all right. Yeah, like as you say, it's feel like this one succeeds. It's not a perfect film, but it succeeds where a lot of video game adaptations fail in that it has atmosphere. Like this film lives and dies by its atmosphere, and yeah, it's kind of like good setup that just kind of goes into a pretty mediocre film. But it's an enjoyable film, and yeah, I like it. Good cast to the film as well. Like Radha Mitchell, I don't think really had a big career, but she's usually good in what I've seen, playing the mother Rose, and Sean Bean's in it, of course, as the husband. And isn't Alice Kriege the leader of the cult who was the Borg Queen from Star Trek, right? Yeah.
Yep.
And
also, Sean Bean doesn't die.
Yeah, I was just going to say that we've somehow gone through this show and covered 2 movies where Sean Bean doesn't die. So, yeah, that's a win for this film. It's a good one to end on because it kind of sums up what the better video game adaptations do is the better ones get something right about the video game, like at least an element, even though a lot of them are pretty mediocre movies. Like Silent Hill gets the atmosphere. Pokemon is really true to the world. So yeah, there's yet to be a perfect video game based film, and I know a lot of people say that, oh, a Metal Gear Solid film could legitimize video game movies, but to me, I'm slightly, more than slightly, nervous about the Metal Gear Solid film. Like, I think, like, I love Metal Gear Solid. It's my favorite video game franchise, like, next to Ratchet and Clank. Like, gameplay versus story there, but yeah, and I think Oscar Isaac is a solid choice to play Snake in the Metal Gear Solid film, but Jordan Vogt Roberts, who made Skull Island, is supposed to do Metal Gear Solid, and I don't know. I don't think he has the sensibility for that, but we'll see in a couple of years. It could be the best video game movie ever made. Then again, it could just be a drastic failure. So,
Yep.
Yeah, video game movies. Few of them are good. Most of them are terrible. So with that, we wrap up our conversation on video game movies, and I suppose now we should spin the wheel and see what we are talking about next time. And I have the wheel in front of me, and the wheel is spinning. And what we will be talking about next time is comic book adaptations.
Oh, I saw Adaptations in the last 3 weeks. All right, that's funky. That's interesting. I like that.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, I swear there are things that don't end in the word adaptations on this wheel, and that's actually the last thing on the wheel for the moment that ends in adaptations. So, yep, I'm very interested in this. There are so many good, great ones out there, and a few bad ones back in the early days. So we will be back with you next time for comic book adaptations. Until then, Robert, thank you for joining me.
Bye-bye.
And to our audience, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
Alone in the Dark. God damn it, did it? U-ball has struck again. Oh, U-ball's poisoned me.